Welcome back to the Crypto World channel, everyone. My name is Josh, and right now the Bitcoin price is still tackling this huge range of resistance. This is really the last major hurdle for the Bitcoin price before we can start tackling the all-time high. In just a moment, I'll be going over some brand new patterns that are forming on the lower timeframes for Bitcoin, and I'll also be updating you guys on the important levels to pay attention to and my next Bitcoin price targets later in the video. So definitely stick around all the way to the end of the video so that you're not missing out on any of this important information. And just before we jump into it, make sure to leave a like on the video down below. And if you're new to the channel, you might as well subscribe with notifications turned on for more videos just like this every single day. But anyway, with all of that out of the way, let's get straight into what this video is about. So right here, we're on the Bitcoin US dollar chart on the daily time frame. And as I've mentioned a lot of times on the channel, the 78.6% Fibonacci level is coming in at about 57,000, just above 57K. And right now, at least at the time of filming this video, the current Bitcoin price is just above that level. But we're still in the middle of this massive volume range on the VPVR indicator, and that really starts dropping off at just above 58,000 US dollars, so more like 58,500. And in fact, if I'm putting a horizontal line right there, we've previously found resistance at that point back here in the beginning of May, and once again, that's coming in at just above 58,000. You could almost say that's close to 59,000 just here. So this is really the last significant range of resistance before Bitcoin can potentially start tackling the all-time high, which by the way, the current all-time high for Bitcoin is coming in at just below 65,000 US dollars. And considering the fact that we don't have a whole lot of traded volume within the current price and 65,000, if we can really start getting above the immediate resistance here, so I'm talking 58, 59,000, if we can start breaking above that, then honestly, things could start moving pretty quickly above that level. If we fail the first attempt of breaking through this resistance, then honestly, that's not really a bad thing. It just means we could have a little bit of a rejection. And with that being said, we've got a lot of support for the Bitcoin price. So for example, this volume range just here ends at around 54,500 US dollars. And then obviously we have the golden pocket, one of the most important Fibonacci levels, which was previous resistance coming in at around 53,000 US dollars. And remember, the golden pocket is a range between the 61.8% Fibonacci level and the 65% level. So it's actually between 53,000 is where it starts, and it goes down to around 51,000. So as I said earlier, we've got a lot of support for the Bitcoin price in case we do see a bit of a rejection here. And we are clearly in an uptrend, not just on the 4-hour charts, but on the daily time frame as well, considering the huge higher low and higher high that has already formed. So with all of that in mind, I'm sure you don't need me to tell you that I am leaning more bullish than I am bearish, obviously, on the daily time frame. But just zooming into the 4-hour time frame for Bitcoin, what we can see here is just a very small bearish divergence currently forming. So a bearish divergence is just when we see higher highs in the price, but lower highs in the RSI. And generally speaking, what a bearish divergence means for the Bitcoin price is we're due for a little bit of a cool off in the current trend. But with that being said, we've seen a couple bearish divergences recently here on the chart, and that short-term cool off has pretty much just been sideways consolidation in this case. And also looking at that bearish divergence that we formed, we did see a little bit more of a rejection to the downside in that case, but nothing too crazy. So it's still something that's forming, and it's still something to pay attention to. But with that being said, I'm obviously still leaning more bullish as for the current trend. These sort of bearish divergences usually just mean kind of like a short-term pause in the trend, if that makes sense. And now quickly zooming into the 2-hour time frame to take a look at a pattern that I was talking about yesterday on the channel. I mentioned that we were possibly forming this head and shoulders pattern on the chart. As you can see, we already saw the left shoulder, we already saw the head, and we already saw the right shoulder. But what I let you guys know yesterday was at that time, we were in the retest phase. So I said, if we get a rejection from this exact level and start heading a little bit further to the downside, then that's how you know that we're potentially playing out the price target. Because as I always say, we need some sort of confirmation anytime we break a significant level on the chart. And so we initially dipped to the downside, but we failed the retest. We got back above that line, which was a bullish sign, and canceled out the price target for that potential head and shoulders pattern. And obviously that bullish sign right there took us right into this range of resistance that we've been talking about. Now zooming back out to the daily time frame to take a quick look at some Bitcoin price targets. I'm just going to really quickly run through these because I've mentioned them in more detail in some previous Bitcoin videos. So for the new viewers on the channel, after you finish watching this video, I recommend you going back on the channel and checking out a few of my other Bitcoin update videos that I posted recently. But getting straight into the first price target for Bitcoin, which was one I mentioned yesterday, is the price target out of this giant bull flag that was forming throughout the entire month of September. And so this potential price target would place Bitcoin up at around 63,500 US dollars, which is pretty close to the all-time high, close to 65,000. But once again, we need to break above this imminent level of resistance before we can start looking at that higher price target close to 63,000 US dollars. And so really between 63 63 and 65,000 US dollars. That little price range up there is probably the last major point of resistance other than the current resistance we're finding before we can officially break into brand new all-time highs and enter price discovery mode. And I'm telling you now, if that happens, that's when you see some of the craziest Bitcoin gains. For example, Bitcoin has a much higher price target out of this huge cup and handle pattern that has already formed and broken out to the upside. The subscribers would already know about this pattern because I've been talking about it on the channel for around a week, give or take. But yeah, this pattern sets up a Bitcoin price target towards 78, nearly 79,000 US dollars, which from the point of the breakout was a potential 54% gain. And from the current Bitcoin price where we are right now at the time of filming this video to that price target, you're talking about a 36, nearly 37% gain. And so obviously that would be amazing for all of the Bitcoin holders out there because once again, that would put Bitcoin close to 80,000 US dollars. And then it's really not that long after that before we have that $100,000 price target that everyone is looking at. But as always, there's two important things to remember about these massive Bitcoin patterns and these massive Bitcoin price targets. The first important thing is the fact that we still cannot ignore these other areas of resistance between the current price and that much higher price target. So even though this price target's coming in at around 78 to 79,000 US dollars, we've still got these other levels of resistance that we cannot forget about. And the second important thing to remember about these larger patterns and these larger price targets is of course the fact that they're going to take longer to play out than something that might be on the 4-hour time frame. So it's really important to distinguish between the different time frames. For example, on the 2-hour time frame, we could have, let's just say, a bearish pattern, and then we could have this very bullish pattern on the daily time frame. And so even if that bearish pattern plays out on the 2-hour time frame, it really doesn't affect something on the daily time frame, if that makes sense. On the daily time frame, that sort of short-term bearish price action is pretty much what we've seen just here in the form of these really small red daily candles. And right now, the official inflation rate of the US dollar, according to the CPI, the Consumer Price Index, is sitting at 5.4%, which is matching the 13-year high. That is right. Inflation is currently at a 13-year high. And that 5.4% inflation figure is once again derived from the Consumer Price Index, which is a basket of goods. But when it comes to more specific goods and services like meat and gas prices, for example, you're looking at around a 10% inflation rate for meat prices, and for gas prices, a 42% inflation rate compared to last year. So what does this actually mean? Well, it means that if you're holding onto dollars, they're constantly losing purchasing power. That's not just my opinion. That's not financial advice. That is literally the facts. That's what the data and the numbers show us. So let's just say if I have dollars saved in a bank account earning no interest, then according to the current inflation rate, every single year I'm going to be losing 5.4% purchasing power. So I'm still going to have the same amount of dollars, the same denomination, but every year that goes by, that same amount of dollars is going to buy 5.4% less stuff compared to the year before. And this is one of the main reasons why Bitcoin was actually invented. When it comes down to it, there was really two main reasons why Satoshi made Bitcoin, and that was to combat inflation, hence Bitcoin's supply cap, and it was also to give control back to the people of their own money rather than trusting a third party like a bank, for example, to hold your money for you. And so this super high inflation rate right now is incredibly bullish for Bitcoin because no matter what, you can't inflate Bitcoin past its 21 million supply, which means over the long term, your Bitcoin will not lose purchasing power due to the inflation of Bitcoin. Obviously, the price of Bitcoin still fluctuates quite a lot, and that's because it's relatively very new. But so far, over the past decade, Bitcoin has been a perfect hedge against inflation and a perfect store of value. And just for fun, looking at what Bitcoin has actually done over the past 1 decade, Bitcoin has had a 1.6 million % return, which is a 16,000x gain. So for every $1 that you put into Bitcoin exactly 10 years ago today, right now you would have over $16,000 for every $1. Obviously, it's incredibly unlikely we're going to see that exact same gain again over the next decade. But with that being said, the long-term trend is very clear. We always have, bull markets and bear markets, but every single bull market and bear market so far has exceeded the previous market. And that's exactly why I prefer to save more of my money in Bitcoin compared to dollars. But obviously that's not financial advice. That's just telling you what I'm doing, and that's giving you the actual data that's in front of us. And by the way, if you want to get extra updates like this throughout the day, make sure you're following me over on my Twitter. We just hit 30,000 followers over on Twitter, and I can't thank you guys enough. Seriously, I really do appreciate all of your support. But yeah, if you enjoyed the video, make make sure to drop a like down below. And if you're new to the channel, be sure to subscribe with notifications turned on for more videos just like this every single day. And just before you click off, make sure you're checking out one of these uploads if you haven't already. I've got a trading tutorial video showing how I trade Bitcoin and a passive income video showing exactly how I earn passive income without any work required. But anyway, that's really everything I have to say for this video. I really hope you enjoyed it, and I'll see you all in the next video.